What's going on, guys? Armand here. Welcome back to the Cracked Lens podcast. I'm here with Michael. Go ahead, plug it.
What's up? It's me, Michael. Cobalt Studios, Neon's photography, wedding photographer guy. Yeah, here with my buddy Armand. Let's do this.
Let's do it. All right. So we're going to talk about Sepia Gate.
Oh, God. A trendy thing.
A trendy thing, yeah. So someone recommended me this topic.
Yeah, so I've seen the Sepia Gate thing going past all my feeds, whatever, kind of nonstop for, it feels like a little bit now. And I really haven't stopped to figure out what it's about. So go ahead. And,
Yeah, so you don't know anything about it.
I'm just kind of coming into this blind. I know very, very, very little, if not anything at all. So
Yeah, okay. So the long story short version is, and I know you're going to have some thoughts on this.
okay.
So from what I understand, this couple booked this wedding photographer to
Wedding
shoot their
world.
wedding.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a wedding thing. And they wanted her for her particular creative style, right? And, they hired her, they did the wedding, everything was good. 6 months later, the bride and groom came back and they wanted a re-edit on all the photos. And she sent like 2,000 photos.
Okay. Keep going. I'm already loaded.
Right? So she sent like an insane amount of photos. And I think they wanted like 7 or 8 re-edits. So the photographer did the re-edits, sent them back. They didn't like them. And, they just kept going back and forth. And they're like, oh, let's jump on a call. Right? And I guess the call got pretty heated. And, basically the bride and groom wanted all the raw files.
Okay.
Like all 2,000 raw files. She's like, I'm just going to edit these myself. So she wanted to charge them like $4,000 or something like that. I think it was $4,000 or $4,400.
Do we know what her wedding rate was to begin with?
That I don't know.
Okay.
But if they want $4,000 for the raw files, it's probably something around there.
Yeah, I would imagine it's probably equal. So first of all, if someone was to come forward and be like, "Hey, I want all the raw files," I as a wedding photographer of over 250 weddings, I have never delivered the raw files, and it's common practice to not deliver the raw files. At least around all the areas I've been here on the West Coast, you just don't deliver raw files. And so if I came to an agreement where I was going to send raw files, I would probably charge about the same as the wedding to begin with. So if her rate for the wedding was $4,000, I would probably just charge the whole thing again if they really wanted the files. Because, okay, first of all, 6 months, 6 months. What took 6 months to get back? And I'm sure there's a part of that is probably delivery time. But if you see your pictures, I don't know how long the gap is between there. So I guess I can't say much.
Yeah.
But that's a big period of time between.
Yeah.
I know photographers don't even keep the raw files for 6 months.
Really?
They do their edits. They hold on to it for a few months. They might clear that drive, and they might keep the raws on the ones they edited, but certainly not everything. And so,
So to continue the story,
okay,
so she delivered the raw files, and then she was basically like, I'm going to learn how to edit these myself. And then what happened was the bride didn't post just one TikTok, but 25 TikToks, just dragging this photographer.
Oh my God.
Right? Okay. So
leave a 1-star Google review. Not 25.
Yeah. So if that's like the short version of what Sepia Gate is. And it's just like this long drawn out saga of
these negative TikToks.
Yeah, these negative TikToks dragging the photographer. And the photographer finally came out and gave an interview and all that. But if I had to guess what happened, it was that the bride and groom probably changed their mind stylistically within that 6 months, or maybe they got feedback from other people.
Yeah.
Or, something of the sort. So okay, what's your thought?
Okay, so
there's a lot to unpack.
There's a lot. And so going into it with the limited knowledge that I have, I haven't seen any reviews or anything else, so I don't know what everyone's saying. And maybe there's some questions I have in there, but just off the bat, if you're hiring a photographer, a wedding photographer, Like
Yeah.
this is a big issue that I see. And it's like when you go to find your photographer, you should be looking at full galleries and weddings and knowing exactly what you're getting yourself into. That's a conscious decision to choose this photographer. So you should, if it matches, if it's par with that photographer's past work, you have nothing you can say at that point. If you're like, actually, I don't like the edits and it's like along your style, then what? No. This is what I offer. This is what you saw when you came to me and hired me. So this is what you get. You have no ability to go back and make those.
Another thing. And do you have this in your contract? Is that like artistically you have freedom to do whatever?
I've never felt the need to add it into mine, and I should.
See, now you should.
No, seriously, everyone should have that in their contract.
Because if like I put this in mine, you literally have to cover all your bases because there's some crazy clients out there, right?
And I've experienced some, and I could talk about that, but like I've got
but if she had that in her contract, she wouldn't have to do anything.
Wouldn't have this issue at all.
Yeah, because like if you don't put it in your contract, then a client can come back and be like, I don't like your style.
But if it comes down to people ripping you online, does the contract really matter anyways? Or would you be able to get like a cease and desist or like
I get a cease and desist or something?
Like, hey, this is what it says in the contract. Yeah. This person needs a cease and desist. So yeah, no matter what, have it in your contract. I agree. I don't have it in my contract, but that's because the main goal of mine is like an extremely naturalistic style. I just like enhance it. I enhance the colors, but I try to take just clean shots that feel timeless. So
you don't necessarily have
I'm not putting like super creative filters. I'm not doing cinematic look. I do that in all my other work. I'll try to like add creative flair, but in weddings, it is solely if I do something, I'm like, oh dude, this is a great shot and I want to do something really creative with it. I do my normal edit, which there is a bit done to it. Yeah. But it still looks natural. But then I'll go and do a second one, which is like the creative edit.
Yeah, I guess like part of her stylistic look was like making things look coral. So like I think like an ant's dress or something like that was like turned a different color.
Okay.
And it's like things like that.
So it's oh man. Vibe with your photographer, vibe with your clients before you go down that road. That's a big deal though.
And I think, that goes beyond just weddings too.
Yeah.
That's just like you're hiring a photographer for like anything, whether it's like a portrait session or commercial or, like whatever it is.
Especially though, if it's anything that can't be redone.
Yeah, exactly.
If, like a wedding or like even a birthday, like certain moments in our lives are really important. And you want to make sure that you have a photographer that, first of all, you trust their vision, their editing style, these things that they do. But then also that you can communicate with them in the right way.
Yeah.
And so like, and I've had people in the past that have taught me a lot. Like I've had weddings where I literally had one bride, she came, so I sent her the pictures and then she wanted to see if there was more of a certain kind or something like that. I can't remember, but I invited her to my home and she came over and she like was so nice, but she was like, if I had to do it again, I wouldn't hire you for this reason. And she wanted more direction and stuff at the time. So it taught me a lot. And it was kind of like, I just got floored.
Right. Like, what do you say in that moment?
And most clients I have, like 99% are super happy, right?
There's always that 1%.
But she was like, oh, I do wish we had more direction and guidance with posing. And I was like, okay. And so, but if we would have had these conversations beforehand, we would have known that, right? So now I try to make sure every time that if there's a possibility to sit down and meet clients beforehand, you should definitely get to know each other, not just on like that creative level, but get to know backstory and like what they like to shoot.
See, that's why I think if you're shooting weddings, it's kind of important to do the engagement session first.
When possible.
Yeah, if possible.
There should always be an engagement session when possible. And a lot of people are traveling for weddings, especially here to like Oregon. A lot of couples are coming from just other places. And so we don't get to meet until the wedding day.
Yeah.
But still a Zoom call.
Yeah, like a Zoom technology like totally works.
It really does. And it gets you on the same like level ground. But dude, this Sepia gate.
It's like blowing up online.
But this isn't. It's not crazy. Like
it's nothing new.
It's nothing new at all.
This happens like all the time. This particular one just blew up.
Yeah, this one just got up there. That's right. Yeah. But this kind of stuff does. I hear it locally. I hear it from people in like Facebook groups. I see stuff like this. I've never had anything quite like that.
Yeah.
So like, yeah. And if someone comes asking for the raws, I just politely say like, I'm really sorry, but no one really asks for the raws.
So you've never given raw files to a client?
No, not that I can recall. If I did, maybe like a long time ago, but
Yeah.
I cannot think of a single time. How would I even send them? I've never had to. How do I send a whole file of? Yeah, I don't remember a time.
Okay, so actually I got asked this question recently, like, what do you do when someone asks for raw files? And myself personally, I'm not sending them.
Yeah, decline.
Just like period, not happening. Because like the main thing is I shot the pictures and I know how I'm gonna edit them.
Yeah.
If you send them off to somebody and they're using like Microsoft Paint to color your files,
And that
like it's gonna look bad, you know.
Photos by Armand.
Yeah,
And
photos
like
by
this
Armand.
is the worst picture I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, like that. I've had that happen before. Like someone will take my picture and just totally re-edit it.
Plus 100 vibrance.
Yeah, like plus 100 vibrance
52.
and clarity and, you know, like 1,000,000% sharpening. Like,
It's just so bad. The
Yeah.
worst tools too.
yeah. And like, that's a representation of your work.
It is.
So you're screwed.
Really, because now
Basically, what the bride did was take the girl's raw files and just totally destroy them.
I think on a non-wedding once a long time ago, now that we're talking about it, I remember having a conversation where someone requested something raw and they were like someone I knew. So I was like, yes, but it cannot be associated with me at all. Like once I give this to you, I never like when you edit it, I didn't touch it. It's not mine. Don't tag me. I don't want anything to do with it. They could have done a great edit. I don't even know, but I remember now. And it was a long time ago, but I said, don't associate with me because seriously, that representation of your work is really important. And when we shoot, our exposure and everything, everything we've got in mind is for that final edit, at least me. But
yeah, I mean, what if they're like, give us all the raw files, right?
No.
And, you know, you accidentally send over like some blurry ones. Or like something that you didn't notice until you zoom in 100%.
So
right?
I had this problem.
Something like those things could happen.
Even like, so here's kind of a solution. And some people are really picky. That's true. We encounter it all the time. Some people really want to know like, well, what else is in there? Can you just send me the raws? Like, and that sometimes is a feasible like reason to see the pictures. So what you could do is you can like reduce, like you take your whole thing. And I don't know if there's an easier way to do it. There probably is. I run it through like Bridge or through Lightroom. I do Lightroom so I can add my watermark.
I would just like export some JPEGs, throw it in a gallery, and say, hey, if you want anything extra, like it's in there.
I've sent 2,000 pictures before as downsized, super small web files with watermarks on them to say, hey, select your favorites.
Yeah.
And that's a way around that.
That usually works.
I have had people save those though and post them on Facebook. And I was like,
I hate that.
Maybe you just don't get it. That's okay.
Dude, okay. So on that topic, there's a model I've shot with, right?
Yeah.
And like I'll post something like on my story and tag her, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's just like a behind the scenes photo or maybe like the video, but like or the photo.
Yeah.
And she'll like screenshot it and then post it on her feed. Instead of like just waiting 10 minutes for me to send her the video.
Just give it a second.
And I'm like, dude, what is this like pixelated photo you just posted and like tagged me? And like, come on.
Super clear work by Armand.
Yeah. And like I've seen her do it with other photographers and I'm like, just why?
Well, see, so
why?
We're immersed in this world of all this media garbage. And so we get it, but others just don't get it. And that's okay. But that's the thing people need to be educated. Like, okay, first of all, you shouldn't be sharing things unless you have explicit permissions to share them.
Yeah.
And it should be final work, always final work, because our portfolio is our livelihood. My portfolio is my livelihood. And if people go sharing like stuff that wasn't intended to be sent out there, the people that see that, they might not bat an eye at my name again if they see me crossing up on, you know, their social feed or, you know, a marketing advertisement, whatever. So
yeah, because like one big marketing thing is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Right. So your word of mouth could be someone being like, oh, I saw this picture and like it was okay, like your other stuff's better, you know.
It's mid work.
Right? Like
low to mid.
Yeah, low to mid. And like, you know, what if someone takes your photo and does a really bad edit and then they post it, right?
Yeah.
But then, and they totally overlook you because of that.
Exactly.
Like you just lost a client.
And back to Sepia Gate. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay, back on topic.
it's basically like they just didn't like what they got, and I don't even know. Like they just decide afterwards to flip the table.
6 months later. And I actually I had that happen recently. Not at a wedding, but like a portrait session.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me the deets.
Okay.
Hot tea.
Yeah, the hot tea, the hot gas. So shot with this model earlier in the year.
Okay.
You know, we did a really cool photo shoot in the snow. She loved it. She posted it, right? I posted it. It's on the portfolio. Looks good. And then literally 6 months later, she was like, hey, I want to print these pictures for something, right?
Yeah.
But she's like, these pictures don't look like me. I'm like, what? She's like, yeah, my eyebrows look weird. Like my makeup isn't right, blah, blah, blah. Did you use AI? I'm like, no, I didn't use AI. And I'm like, literally, you told me 6 months ago you love these photos. You use them. I use them. Like, what's going on here? So I sent her the raw files, right? Well, I sent her like a JPEG.
Yeah.
I was like, just straight out of camera JPEG, like neutral profile, right? And she was like, oh, okay, this is fine then. And I'm like, what the hell's wrong with people?
What's going on?
Like, what's going on? I'm like, people, like, come on.
No.
Don't come back 6 months later and be like, I don't like this.
Sometimes
After you said you liked it.
Sometimes I feel like, especially in the paid world, and I've had
This was an unpaid shoot, by the way.
no, exactly. And sometimes, so we've already talked about before, but the cheaper a client is,
Yeah.
the pickier, the more upset they get. Like the more they
100%.
need, oh, can you re-edit this? Oh, can you do this? It's just like the nature of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
And then free is like, it's either or sometimes. Sometimes people are really appreciative, and sometimes people like will keep coming back until you're like, hey, I did this for free. I can't do anything else. Like
I feel like if I do any more free shoots, I'm gonna have people sign a contract and just be like,
I'm with you. No,
yeah,
for real. We're getting a contract because I've
because like you're wasting my time at that point.
literally like the overhead of existing as a photographer with a studio too for me lately has been like I have so little time to put forward, and then I've had some collaborations that really weren't like appreciated, or it's just kind of like, oh cool, thanks, and others that are totally appreciated, but it's like, this takes a lot to do. This isn't just like we didn't just go out with our iPhones and click, okay, that's cool, which is that's still an art form, but like a professional photo shoot is a lot of work and worth a lot of money.
It is.
And so it makes you kind of bitter when you do TFP stuff and then it's just like not appreciated at all. And so a contract though, and defining usage and who can do what with, I won't get into details, but like even
I was gonna say maybe that's the move going forward with like TFP shoots.
Just having a model release and a contract for usage. I think that's really important because
Just be like, if you want to use this beyond social media, then you have to pay for it.
And then a contract with weddings as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. The CP Gate thing, like I said, doesn't sound like anything incredibly new.
Yeah.
But it's good that people are talking about expectations a little bit. And sometimes paid clients do come back after time. And I feel like they spent a lot of money, right? And when you spend a lot of money, some people just aren't ever going to be satisfied because they're going to want more and more. And like, it does take 2,000 pictures. That's a lot. Like they delivered 2,000?
They delivered 2,000 photos.
That's kind of insane.
That's a lot.
So also, I'm going to say this. To photographers, if you're shooting a wedding day and you're like delivering 2,000 pictures, the quality of the overall gallery is not going to be that good, in my opinion. There's no way you're getting 2,000 bangers from one wedding day.
What's like the upper limit? Like
it ranges
like two to 400.
If you Google says something like, oh, you should be getting 60 to 80 pictures an hour. And then most of the photographers that I've known, I've talked to, that's a lot. I'm like, that's BS. So my galleries, The most I've ever delivered, which was an Indian wedding that was extremely colorful. There was like 200 to 300 guests. I literally did not stop all day. I was so tired.
Yeah.
And my biggest gallery ever was 888 pictures. And like a good 100 or 200 of those were like not necessarily perfect, but I was like, it's a good memory. So I threw it in. But the common number for me is probably like around 400 pictures.
Yeah.
300 to 400, right? And
2,000 is like you're just burst moding the whole day and delivering everything.
so like printing 300 to 400 pictures, like, okay, our attention spans aren't that good.
No.
Get the highlights, cull the good shit, and get out. Like,
Yeah.
you don't need a million pictures. So I think sometimes people deliver more pictures. The client looks at it and goes, what is this shit?
Yeah.
You know, and then you see a great one, you're like, that's great. But then you're like, it's washed out by all these mid pictures. So 2,000, that shouldn't have done that.
That's crazy.
But
remember, guys,
each their own.
we're delivering quality, not quantity.
Quality, not quantity. Thank you, Armand. Yes.
Same with the Instagram and like all the other work, right?
Yes.
You know, don't be doing these portrait sessions where you're charging $200 and delivering 50 images. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah. Right.
For like a 1 hour portrait session, like
When someone comes in for a headshot, they need a headshot, not 50 headshots of slightly different varieties. It is our job as photographers in most cases to be decisive. And I think that's something that people lack, because we get proud of our work sometimes. And you're like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. Next thing you know, you've selected almost everything you took and you're trying to send it to the client and they're overwhelmed.
Yeah, like at a portrait session, like realistically, you don't need more than like, what would you say, like 5?
Yeah, my packages are 3, 7, and then I have one that's 25 plus that's meant for like variety.
Yeah. See, for me, I do like 5, 10, 15.
Yeah.
And then, you know, with every package, you can add on an extra like photo for like X amount of dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like nobody needs like 20, 30 pictures like from a session, you know?
If there's an occasion that calls for it and you need more pictures, you want to book that package. And I haven't had
totally.
my 25 one, it's like, it's an amount passed, right? So it's like, hey, if it's like, maybe it's a birthday shoot and I don't really have an event package for that, and it's a Tuesday. So I just consider it like a portrait session. I go out and I'll give you the 25 package. Yeah. So,
yeah. I mean, if you look at my website, I try to make every single photo I take like a piece of art. Like it's something printable. So like if I'm just focusing on click, 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 like all over the place, right? Then I'm not really focusing on making like a single image like as like amazing as possible. I'm focusing on like the quantity and just like getting as many photos.
Well, and then so like with a planned portrait session, I think it's easier to take your time with it. But I think that the issue stems from a lot of people doing like event type things and even making lifestyle sessions into events like, oh, we're going to go out and we're just going to kind of capture you guys going through nature or whatever, which is it's a great way to get people relaxed and get people, just comfortable in front of the camera. But then they treat it like it's a wedding and they're just clicking away and they think every moment needs to be saved and sent. But that was not the goal there to go capture a bazillion pictures. It was to get them comfortable and get a couple of great ones utilizing that experience.
Yeah. So overall thoughts on Sepia Gate?
I think, like I said, it's nothing new, but
it's nothing new.
I think it's way out of line for the bride to go out.
Yeah,
and this isn't me being biased as a wedding photographer. Like, genuinely, and every couple should know this, do your research. Make that conscious decision. And once you've done it and you have that trust in the photographer, unless they're delivering subpar work from their portfolio, then you have no right to complain.
Yeah.
If I'm wrong and you looked at, this bride's gallery versus her past galleries, and this one's just dog shit compared to these wonderful galleries, then she has a reason to ask for more. But if it is par and she wants raws, then literally I would charge again. And that's if the photographer is willing to make those exceptions. But
so if someone, let's say you shot a wedding, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't like the photos, like send us the raws. Are you willing to send the raws for basically what you charge for that day? Like, let's say your day rate to shoot the whole wedding was $3,500, right? Would you be willing to pay another $3,500 or willing to charge another $3,500 to send the raws?
Me, I don't think so.
No.
I don't even think I would take that.
So the integrity outweighs the dollar amount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like
It's tempting, but I would probably say the same.
it's not about money, right? Yeah. It's like it is and it isn't. We're working for money, but I think when I work with couples, like the money is the awkward part for me. I need it to survive.
Same.
But in the end,
I hate talking about money.
It's like if you want some creative edits or something different, I would rather invite you into my studio or a Zoom call and talk about like, hey, what can be different? And I would try to assist a little bit to a reasonable degree. Yeah. But if they're just like unwilling to work, or if they bashed me on the internet, I'd be like, hey, 2 fingers way up, bye. We'll leave 1 stars on everything. I don't care. I'm just going to respond to you and walk away. So yeah. Like I hope the photographer is doing okay after everything. And honestly, negative attention could be good attention. So if she had a good response, I wonder she's getting booked.
Yeah, I wonder if she booked more sessions after that.
Unless she's really bad, in which case I hope that she learns it's better. But
I don't know. Honestly, I didn't do a ton of research before this. This is just kind of like
it's been popping through the feed.
It's been popping. So like you guys should like actually check it out. Do your research on it.
Sepia Gate.
Because it sounds pretty interesting. But I like so I wonder, why is it called Sepia Gate? Was it from her editing style?
Really come in here.
Yeah, let's look at we're gonna real time fact check this.
Sepia Gate.
Yeah. Also, for the record, I don't think sepia is like a good color choice, to be honest.
I think it's horrid.
I'm not a fan. Okay, so we watched it, and first off, the style that she gave was not sepia.
Not sepia.
Not even close.
We had to clarify that one. So
sepia is very like yellowish tone.
It's like
washed
it's like
out
old
yellow
school. You think of like the same era, like right after tintype, right? And then you have like these sepia Western tones. With
it's like trying to recreate like the 50s style, like Western,
not sepia.
Not at all.
Honestly, some of the pictures, like the ones that I saw in the video,
they were actually pretty good.
They looked good.
Yeah, they looked good.
Like par to above par of what you would normally see in typical wedding photographers. And so, dude.
Also, like a lot of wedding photographers don't even like have a style. You know what I mean?
Sometimes no. Like
sometimes no. They just like throw some light edits on there and call it a day.
That's kind of what I do. Yeah. Some people will change the tones like ever so slightly. I might throw like an S curve in, or I'll pop like the subject out a little bit with like a tiny little bit exposure. Yeah. Maybe darken the back just to bring like focus into the subject in certain shots. But most shots are very lightly edited, just retouched. Yeah. Make sure the white balance is where it needs to be. Teeth whitening here and there, some blemish here and there. Nothing crazy.
If it's like a photo you're going to print, then obviously you're going to spend more time on it.
Honestly, if it's a super creative edit anyways, which these weren't. They were normal wedding images. They looked good. Like, duplicate it. Literally duplicate it. Give the normal one and then duplicate it. But
I wish we could interview her.
Oh, yeah, dude. Maybe one day.
Do you know how cool that would be?
Interviewing people would be fun. We're just a bunch of losers, though.
No, we're not, dude. You own a photo studio.
But I'm still a loser.
Portland's premier photo studio.
Thank you. Thank you for hyping me up. I need that.
Anytime, Dad.
Okay, for real, though, like, I feel bad for the photographer having to go through it. I do not feel bad for the bride at all. I think it's pretty extra what's happening. And to then go bash someone online to the point where it's viral and all that negative attention is that way, I hope it turns positive.
The fact that the bride went out of her way to learn editing, to re-edit the photos.
Dude, right? That's super extra.
That's like...
Extra clients exist. I'll tell you, when I get married, though...
I actually had that happen once.
What?
A client started to like learn how to color.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Okay, so... So this isn't photography related, but it's video related.
Okay.
I colored this feature film for this older couple, we'll say. Trying to be vague here. And, a feature film is like 90 minutes. So it's a lot of work. And they wanted a lot of very specific things, right? To which I delivered. They literally sat next to me as I colored this movie.
Yes.
It was literally one of those like add +1 contrasts kind of things. +1 contrast, +1 saturation.
You're like trying to like move the slider over one, and their sweat is dripping off their
Right,
on
like-
your shoulder, and you're like, God.
Yeah, like they're literally just like sweating over my shoulder.
Using a bomb situation.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh God.
And you know, I would color it and then I would export it out, send it to them after, you know, and then they went and looked at it on their monitor, right?
Oh God.
And then I would get this like essay of like, you ruined our movie, this is terrible, we're running out of time, blah blah blah. And I'm like,
You're like, I'm sorry, do you have a BenQ? Okay.
yeah, I'm like, you literally sat next to me as I colored. And they were basically like, we need to make sure this movie looks good on the worst monitor possible.
Oh, no.
And, you know, eventually I colored the whole movie and I went over to their house and I looked at this monitor. Dude.
Straight out of the 90s. It's a TV.
Dude, it was like super washed out. Like the brightness was maxed out. The contrast was maxed out. Like saturation was maxed. Like
you just click 40 buttons.
Right. I'm like, I just hit like reset on the monitor and then it looked normal. And I'm like, okay, there you go. And she's like, oh yeah, we should have done that from the beginning.
Thanks for the stress.
This was a whole month.
Oh my God. Dude, that's awesome.
Just like a whole month of dealing with this. And it totally reminds me of Sepia Gate.
Dude, no, the nightmare clients exist.
They do exist. We're going to do a whole episode on nightmare clients eventually.
Nightmare clients.
We're going to get submissions from other people.
You got nightmare clients? Who's had nightmare clients?
Tell us. Yeah.
Maybe if you want to be on the podcast with us, we can talk about our nightmare clients together because I've got them. Armand's got them.
They can be anonymous if you want to write in.
Yeah, you could even be anonymous. You could talk like this into the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Insane clients like that exists. It's just part of the business. It's part of what you have to deal with.
Unfortunately. And so
this is the trade-off for not having to work a 9 to 5.
As much as a couple for weddings, or as much as a person who's doing portrait photography should vet their photographers before they hire them, vet your couples, vet your individuals, especially if it's a higher paying job. Meet them first and make sure that you do the vibe check thing. It's important. Yeah. No joke.
You know, and I think it's because weddings are an emotional purchase, not a practical purchase. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, on the low end, we'll say like $3,500 for a wedding. And then like on the high end, it goes up to like what, 10 grand, 20 grand?
Yeah, it goes up and up.
Yeah, it just goes up and up. Like it's crazy, right?
So,
and you know, that's like a lot of money for just regular people.
Yeah.
You know, $3,500 could go towards a lot of things. $5,000 could go towards a lot of things. That's like a vacation. That's a, you know, down payment on a car.
Yeah.
You know, like all these things. And,
treat it like you would treat a car purchase.
Yeah, exactly.
Research.
Yeah, do your research.
And in the final pictures don't matter, or they do. That's not what I meant. The final pictures matter just as much as picking the right person who can make you feel right on the day of.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, if you like we said earlier, if you go through and you look at the portfolio and it's par, that's it. Nothing else. You gotta trust your photographer's vision, and if you don't like it afterwards, then you're like, I don't know.
Who is in the right, the photographer or the client?
I think the photographer. And so what this reminds me of, and I'm trying to avoid saying, is like in the beginning of my career as a wedding photographer, and I wasn't the best yet, right? I'm still not the best, but I was still learning a lot. But I remember there were certain kinds of couples that I had problems with, because it never seemed about the love anyways. Like they wanted their wedding to be like a photo shoot, right?
Yeah.
And so they probably cared more about like
just how they
looked and having tons of pictures, and they didn't even really talk or touch or do much throughout the day. It was kind of awkward.
It was like, we're just here for the clout.
I've been to some awkward weddings, and then so when I think of those people too, like they were a lot afterwards. They were a lot before, they were a lot afterwards. And I was like, I need money. Yes, just come in. And I was putting on like a face, like I'm what you want in a wedding photographer. Hire me because I'm trying to do this, right? And they were nightmare clients. Like they weren't as bad. Nothing ever happened negatively. They didn't say too much afterwards. I might have done a little extra work on the back end for them. But like I'm imagining that the Sepia gate bride is something like that. And then she didn't get what she wanted. And when people like that don't get what they want, they throw a fit. They put it on social media.
They just go crazy.
They just go crazy. But those pictures looked good. So
we like the photos.
I like the photos. And if I were to get married, and I always think, because I know so many photographers, when I get married, it would be cool to have different photographers.
So you would hire me, is what you're saying?
I would want you. I would want a lot of the photographers in our community. And I want the Sepia.
So we're just going to have like 10 photographers at your wedding, like all shooting.
If I can afford whatever.
Different styles.
Yeah, just that would be really cool.
So what you're saying is your wedding just turns into a workshop.
Yeah. And Sepia photographer will be there. Yes. All the other photographers I follow.
You hear that? You're still in business.
I thought your
whatever her name is.
Whatever. I actually don't know. I thought your stuff
was good. Bad. We got to know what her name is.
It doesn't matter. It's all good. I hope you succeed. Don't let that shit get to you, because that was really annoying. And if it was my client, I would have laughed and been like, dude, this is par with my work. If you don't like it, then that's probably a you thing.
See, but you got to have the artistic thing in your contract.
And get the artistic thing in your contract.
Very important. You know, it's always been in my contract, and I never thought about it until, you know, the Sepia Gate thing.
9 out of 10, I bet.
Happened.
I bet that photographer has that in their contract now.
She might.
I hope she does.
I hope she even had a contract to begin with.
Yeah, you never know, man.
You never know. So,
all right.
Lessons learned.
Lessons learned.
Any final thoughts?
Nah, dude, that was a fun little ride, though.
Yeah.
Trying something that's going around.
Yeah.
But it seriously, maybe I should pay more attention to what's going on online, because like it makes me feel a little like closer to the problems in the industry that we have, like hearing other people's stories that they have like that. And I mean, it's the same like when we meet with community and stuff like that. It feels good to be close to the situations, but like I just feel I just have sympathy, and I hope that it's not negatively affecting the photographer. And it's not because I'm the photographer in these situations and I have clients. I legitimately, if I had nothing to do with cameras, put that away. Like looking at the situation in general, I think the client's in the wrong, and the photographer delivered par work with what she normally does, and it's 100% right. Don't go bashing your photographers online, no matter how dissatisfied you are. This is their business. That's how they make a living. She could have a family. She could have kids. I don't know any of those details, but like, that's not cool. Don't do that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I would say the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool. Are we going to wrap it up there?
I'm good, man. I'm happy.
All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. Don't forget, 5 stars on all the streaming platforms. Like us on YouTube if you're watching us there.
Yeah.
And we will see you in the next one.
We appreciate you guys. Thanks. All right, Armand.